How do you humans survive with such primitive toys? The alien captain's voice echoed in the chamber, bouncing off the steel walls of the military briefing room. Commander Harris, standing at attention, allowed a faint smile to tug at the corners of his lips. It wasn't the first time he had heard such mockery from the Farkolian delegation. Across the room, the Farkolian captain, an imposing figure with iridescent scales and multifaceted eyes, smirked, revealing rows of sharp, gleaming teeth. His name was Nax, a seasoned warrior known for his strategic brilliance and ruthless efficiency. Today, however, he seemed more interested in belittling his human counterparts than discussing their upcoming joint mission. Harris gestured toward a table at the center of the room, displaying an array of human and Farkolian weaponry. The centerpiece, however, was a meticulously polished revolver. Its sleek metallic body gleamed under the harsh fluorescent lights, a stark contrast to the alien plasma rifles and energy swords surrounding it. Captain Nax, Harris began in a firm voice, this so-called primitive toy, as you call it, has a history. History? Nax interrupted, his laughter booming. History is for museums, Commander. We live in an era of plasma and particle lances. Your reliance on such relics is amusing, if not pathetic. A murmur of agreement rippled through the Farkolian officers behind Nax, their alien features contorting into expressions of disdain and amusement. Harris remained unperturbed, his eyes never leaving Nax. "Bear with me, Captain," Harris replied calmly. "Allow me to demonstrate." Nax waved a dismissive hand, his amusement evident. "Of course, Commander. Entertain us with your ancient human ingenuity." Harris picked up the revolver, feeling its familiar weight in his hand. It was a Colt Python, an artifact from Earth's past that had somehow ended up in his family as a relic. He had always been fascinated by its simple yet effective design, a testament to human engineering from a bygone era. He walked toward a series of targets set up at the far end of the room. These targets were designed to withstand the most advanced weaponry in the known galaxy, capable of absorbing energy blasts and kinetic impacts alike. Harris took a deep breath and tightened his fingers around the grip. Without warning, he spun around and fired. The deafening crack of the shot reverberated through the room, startling the Farkolian officers. Nax's smirk vanished, replaced by a look of genuine surprise. The bullet had struck the target's center with unerring accuracy, a feat made all the more impressive by the speed and precision of Harris's movements. "Impressive," Nax admitted, his tone reluctant. "But still, it's just a single shot. Hardly a match for our advanced weaponry." Harris smiled, a glint of mischief in his eyes. "I think you'll find, Captain, that sometimes it's not about the weapon itself, but how it's used." Before Nax could respond, an alarm blared through the room. Red lights flashed, and a voice over the intercom announced an incoming attack. Both the human and Farkolian officers snapped to attention, their earlier rivalry momentarily forgotten in the face of a common threat. Harris holstered the revolver and turned to Nax. "It seems we'll have to put our differences aside, Captain. Are you ready to see how primitive toys and advanced weaponry can work together?" Nax narrowed his eyes but nodded. "Lead the way, Commander." The two leaders rushed out of the briefing room, followed by their respective teams. The hallways of the military base buzzed with activity as soldiers scrambled to their positions and prepared for battle. As they approached the command center, Harris couldn't help but glance at Nax, wondering if the alien warrior truly understood the value of the old revolver. Inside the command center, the atmosphere was tense. The holographic screen displayed a fleet of hostile ships approaching, their origin unknown. Harris quickly took his place at the central console, while Nax conferred with his officers in their guttural language. "Status report," barked Harris. A young lieutenant hurried over, his face pale. "Commander, the enemy fleet is advancing rapidly. Our defenses are holding, but we can't withstand a prolonged assault." Nax stepped forward, his demeanor now all business. "We must strike quickly and decisively. Our combined forces might have a chance if we target their command ship." Harris nodded, appreciating the Farkolian strategic insight. Agreed. We'll coordinate our attack. Lieutenant, prepare the troops and align with the fleet. As the lieutenant rushed off, Harris turned to Krillnax. I hope your soldiers are ready, Captain. This won't be an easy fight. Krillnax's multifaceted eyes gleamed with fierce determination. Do not underestimate us, Commander. We are more than prepared. The command center buzzed with activity as final preparations were made. Harris took a moment to focus, his hand brushing the revolver at his side. It served as a reminder of humanity's resilience and ingenuity, a symbol of hope in the face of overwhelming odds. Let's show them what we're made of, Harris muttered, more to himself than anyone else. The first wave of enemy ships breached the outer defenses, their sleek, menacing forms looming large on the holographic display. Harris and Krillnax exchanged one last nod of understanding before focusing on the battle at hand. Human and Farkolian forces moved in unison, their combined power forming a formidable front against the intruders. Plasma cannons roared to life, filling the air with the hum of energy weapons and the thunderous burst of traditional firearms. The ancient revolver in Harris's hand seemed almost alive, a bridge between the past and the future. As the battle progressed, it became clear that the enemy was unlike any they had faced before. Their ships were faster, their weapons more powerful, but Harris and Krillnax pressed on with unyielding determination. In this desperate fight, they discovered that sometimes the simplest tools could be the most effective. The enemy, who had mocked the old human weapon, would soon learn the true power of humanity's legacy. The enemy fleet drew closer, their ships emitting an eerie pulsating glow as they unleashed devastating energy blasts. Explosions rocked the command center, causing the lights to flicker and the ground to tremble beneath their feet. Commander Harris, our outer defenses are failing, the lieutenant shouted over the chaos, his face mirroring the battlefield's turmoil. Harris nodded grimly and turned to Krillnax. We need to take out their command ship. It's our only chance. Krillnax's multifaceted eyes shone with determination. Agreed. We'll need a distraction to draw fire away from our main assault force. Harris turned to his tactical officer. Lieutenant, deploy our fighters. Have them engage the enemy head-on. We'll send a strike team to infiltrate their command ship. The holographic display showed swarms of human and Farkolian fighters launching into the fray. Their coordinated maneuvers were a testament to the newfound alliance between the two species. As the fighters clashed with enemy ships, Harris and Krillnax gathered their strike team, the best soldiers from both forces. The group consisted of battle-hardened veterans and eager young recruits. Among them was Sergeant O'Reilly, a burly, no-nonsense Marine who had seen his fair share of battles. "Ready to kick some alien butt, sir," O'Reilly said, gripping his plasma rifle with a grin. Harris couldn't help but chuckle. "Just follow my lead, Sergeant. We've got a command ship to board." The strike team boarded a sleek, heavily armed landing craft and launched into space, navigating the chaotic battlefield. The pilot, an experienced ace named Reynolds, skillfully guided the craft past enemy fire, heading straight for the massive enemy command ship looming in the distance. "Brace yourselves," Reynolds called out. "This is going to be a rough ride." The landing craft shuddered as it took a glancing hit from an enemy blast, but Reynolds held it steady, bringing them closer to the command ship's hull. With a deft maneuver, he docked the craft at an airlock, and the strike team quickly disembarked, weapons at the ready. Harris led the way, revolver in hand, his senses heightened. The corridors of the enemy ship were dark and foreboding, illuminated only by the occasional flicker of red emergency lights. The air was thick with tension as they pushed deeper into the vessel, encountering sporadic resistance from alien soldiers. The Farkolians proved their worth, fighting alongside the humans with a ferocity that even surprised Harris. Krillnax, wielding a massive energy sword, cut through enemies with precision and grace, each movement a demonstration of lethal efficiency. As they advanced, Harris's mind raced with thoughts about their mission's critical objective, They needed to locate the command center and neutralize the enemy leader, a figure shrouded in mystery and rumored to possess unparalleled tactical brilliance. The strike team finally reached a heavily fortified door, clearly marked as the entrance to the command center. Harris signaled his team to take positions, and O'Reilly stepped forward with a breaching charge. "On my mark," Harris whispered. 3, 2, 1 now. The charge detonated, blowing the door inward with a deafening blast. The strike team stormed into the command center, taking cover behind consoles and pillars as enemy soldiers opened fire. Harris's eyes scanned the room, quickly identifying the enemy leader, a tall, imposing figure exuding an air of cold, calculating intelligence. The alien commander stood at the far end of the room, directing their forces with a casual confidence. "Take him down!" Harris shouted, firing his revolver and taking out 2 enemy soldiers with precise shots. The battle within the command center was fierce, with the strike team fighting tooth and nail to reach the enemy commander. Krillnax, wielding his energy sword, charged forward, cutting a path through the defenders. Harris and O'Reilly provided covering fire, their combined efforts slowly but surely tipping the scales in their favor. Finally, they reached the enemy commander, who drew an elegant and menacing weapon to engage Krillnax in a fierce duel. The clash of energy swords filled the air as the 2 warriors fought with deadly skill and determination. Harris knew he had to act quickly. He aimed his revolver, waiting for the perfect moment. The enemy commander, focused on Krillnax, didn't notice Harris taking careful aim. Squeezing the trigger, Harris fired. The bullet struck the commander's weapon hand, causing them to drop their sword. Krillnax seized the opportunity, delivering a swift and decisive strike that incapacitated the enemy leader. The room fell silent as the remaining enemy soldiers, seeing their commander defeated, lowered their weapons in surrender. Harris approached the fallen commander, his revolver still trained on them. "It's over," he said firmly, his voice laced with authority. "Order your forces to retreat." The alien commander, clutching their injured hand, looked at Harris with a mix of anger and respect. "You fight well, human," they admitted. "Very well." With the enemy commander captured and the command center secured, Harris turned to Krillnax. "We did it, Captain. Now, let's make sure the rest of their fleet knows it's over." Krillnax nodded, a rare smile crossing his alien features. "Indeed, Commander. Let's finish this." As they prepared to transmit the surrender order to the enemy fleet, Harris couldn't help but feel a sense of accomplishment. They had overcome their differences, fought side by side, and achieved a victory that neither could have managed alone. The battle wasn't completely over, but the tide had turned, and with their new alliance, they were ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. With the enemy commander subdued and the command center secure, Harris and Krillnax wasted no time. They needed to send the surrender order to the enemy fleet before the rest of the battle escalated further. Harris approached the main console and accessed the communication system. The alien technology was unfamiliar, but Krillnax guided him through it, their combined efforts a testament to their growing cooperation. "Attention, enemy fleet," Harris began, his voice resonating through the command center. "Your leader is defeated, and your command ship is under our control. Retreat immediately or face the consequences." Krillnax added in his own guttural language, reinforcing the message with the authority only a Farkolian war leader could muster. The enemy fleet's response was immediate. The ships began to power down their weapons, ceasing their aggressive maneuvers as they complied with the order. The battlefield, once a chaotic storm of violence, gradually began to calm. The strike team, relieved but still cautious, secured the remaining enemy soldiers in the command center. Harris turned to Krillnax, a sense of finality washing over him. "We need to ensure that the rest of our forces know the situation. Let's head back to the command center at our base and coordinate the next steps." As they boarded their transport ship, Harris couldn't help but glance at his revolver. The ancient weapon had proven its worth, not just as a tool of war, but as a symbol of humanity's resilience and adaptability. He holstered it with pride, ready to face whatever lay ahead. Back at the base, the atmosphere was markedly different. News of the enemy's surrender had spread quickly, and the combined human and Farkolian forces were celebrating the hard-won victory. Harris and Krill Nax were greeted with cheers and applause as they made their way to the command center. Inside, the leadership team was already at work, coordinating the disarmament and capture of the remaining enemy forces. Harris and Krill Nax joined them, offering critical insights and ensuring the transition unfolded smoothly. As the hours passed, the reality of their success began to sink in. The enemy fleet had been neutralized and their threat contained. The victory had come at a cost, but also forged a new bond between humans and Farkolians, a partnership that promised a stronger future for both species. Harris stood by the large window overlooking the base, watching as enemy ships were escorted to secure locations. Krill Nax joined him, his imposing figure casting a long shadow in the dim light. "We made a good team," Harris said, breaking the silence. Krill Nax nodded. "Indeed. Your revolver is a symbol of something greater than mere weaponry. It represents the spirit of your people. Their will to fight and adapt." Harris smiled. "It's a reminder where we come from, and that sometimes the simplest tools can have the greatest impact." Krill Nax's multifaceted eyes glimmered with newfound respect. "I underestimated you, Harris. I won't make that mistake again." Harris chuckled. "I think we both learned a few things today." Their conversation was interrupted by a call from the command center. "Commander Harris, Captain Krill Nax, we received a communication from the enemy's home planet. They're requesting a truce and are willing to discuss terms of peace." Harris exchanged a glance with Krill Nax. "Looks like our work isn't done yet." Krill Nax grinned, a fierce determination in his eyes. "Then let's finish what we started." The negotiation process was long and complex, but Harris and Krill Nax approached it with the same tenacity that had won them the battle. The enemy leaders, recognizing the futility of further conflict, agreed to a ceasefire and began talks for a lasting peace. Weeks turned into months as the details were hashed out, but in the end, a treaty was signed. The forces that were once enemies became allies, united by the common goal of rebuilding and moving forward. The Human-Farkolian alliance became the cornerstone of interstellar cooperation, a beacon of hope in a galaxy that had seen too many wars. Harris's revolver was placed in a museum, a symbol of the historic victory and the alliance it had helped forge. Visitors from across the galaxy came to see it, marveling at the ancient weapon that had played a pivotal role in shaping their future. Years later, as Harris stood in the museum, he couldn't help but reflect on the journey that had brought them to this point. Krill Nax stood beside him, their friendship stronger than ever. "We've come a long way," Harris said quietly. Krill Nax nodded. "And we have much further to go. But whatever comes, we'll face it together." Harris smiled. Together, the revolver, encased in glass, gleamed under the museum lights, a testament to the power of unity, resilience, and the enduring spirit of humanity